Good morning. My name is Ray White, and I'm here to interview Lucille Kituku on her experience at internship at Salem Health. Lucille, how are you?
I'm doing well, Ray. How are you?
Doing all right.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, a couple questions here to talk about your experience. Who is your employer?
So I conducted my internship at Salem Health, which has most recently become an OHSC partner, and I worked in a department known as Informational Services.
Awesome. And so, Salem Health, is that considered a private or is it a not-profit? Like, what type of sector is Salem Health in?
It's in the not-for-profit sector. So as a hospital, most hospitals qualify as not-for-profit organizations.
Okay. And through your internship, did you have a particular title? And what was that? What were some of your responsibilities with that title?
It's a great question. So at the beginning of my internship, I was just known as the IS intern. And some of my earlier responsibilities were to conduct a contract analysis project where I was, my role was to help the organization comb through all the contracts that they've had over the past few years. So there was a contract analyst prior to the beginning of my internship. However, when she left, there wasn't really any succession plan for who was going to take over her work. And so part of my internship was just maintaining not only what she had done, but also working with the senior analysts to find out whether or not cost savings would be an option within those contracts. So that occupied the first two sections of my internship, the summer and the fall. And then for the spring, I was able to wrap up that project, and I was introduced to a new project known as Community Connect. So Salem Health is one of several hospitals that has decided to connect with other hospitals in the area to help reduce costs. In this past year, we've connected with Salem Clinic, and as an intern, I was brought in to help support the project manager, who was a consultant from another company. As we got closer to the date for the go live is what we call it, she needed a little bit more admin support, a little bit more project planning support. So that was my role this past spring semester. More specifically, I focused on helping set up what's known as a command center. And so anytime you're making any sort of technical advances with your organization, whether or not it's an upgrade or connecting to another organization, you have to have a command center, which is, everyone who would be needed to be called in would already be there. So it's basically just a time for everyone to have everyone in the same room, so that if an issue comes up, we're not looking for this person or looking for that person. So yeah.
Okay. And so through your involvement with Community Connect, since that sounds like a little bit larger project that you worked on, you mentioned that some of your deliverables were producing this command center and helping with any essential needs within that. Do you have an example of some of the deliverables that you delivered within the command center specifically?
I do. So the largest piece that I was in charge of was scheduling and training the call takers. So these people are the first line of defense essentially for the command center. If an end user has an issue, they call the command center, and the first people that they talk to are the call takers. And they're staffed from open to close alongside the command center. And so my job was not only to find people to fill in for the schedule, but I was also in charge of creating the call sheet or the template that they would use when receiving calls, and then to train them. So I was actually very fortunate because a lot of the call takers had been in that role before, but there were a couple of new people, and so yeah, my job was to train them and make sure that all the call taking equipment was ready to go when the command center opened.
Okay, great. So at least one thing that you've learned. So you've done two different types of projects, or you're in two different avenues within Salem Health and your time there. So what are some of the things that you've learned in that experience?
It's a great question. I've learned the meaning of a subject expert, which sounds, very self-explanatory, but I guess in a lot of areas it's one thing to know a little bit about everything, but it's another thing to know a lot about one thing. And I think that's one thing that I learned, is that especially in technology, you have people who are true subject experts who know their field or who know their segment very well. And you need to have those people within your organization. And while a few of them may be able to cross over, the benefit of having specific teams to address specific issues is that they are the subject experts for that. So for example, The first team, the first thing that comes to mind are the technical teams. Like you have a server team or you have a networking team, and those people are specifically for that reason. And it's not like someone can pick up a couple tools and work with them. It's very specific to that organization or to that function. So yeah, that's probably one of the coolest things that I learned. And it's been great, getting to learn a lot more about technology. This is my first time anywhere near this realm, which has been helpful, and it's been a learning curve, but it's also been fun. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep.
So, and since this is a new experience for you, do you see any crossover between your internship and the knowledge that you've learned in the class, or any type of just courses, trainings, anything that you've seen that crosses over?
That's a great question. So some of the courses that were most helpful for this internship were the ones that taught me how to work with people. So even though this is a highly technical area, because I want to go into project management, because I was managing a project when I started, the classes that prepped me for that were very, very helpful. So more specifically, I'm thinking of managing organizations and our PACE class. Both of those classes taught us not only how to work together as an individual, but also, or as individuals, but also how to manage people while creating a project or creating a deliverable. So at the end of my internship, or the first two parts of my internship, when I needed to have a deliverable for the contracts project, it was done over time, and it was done with multiple different groups of people. And so in order to complete the project to the best of my ability, I needed to learn to work with people, especially technical people, which again is another segment of their own. So yeah.
Great. So how would you apply the learning you described and the experiences that you've gone through to your next role, to your next job in the future?
That's a great question. So a lot of the things that I've experienced and learned have been around working in healthcare technology. And so for my next job, I plan to continue a lot of those skills, more specifically around understanding, gaining a deeper understanding of what technology in healthcare means. So for example, we use a system called Epic. And it's a very, very large system. And so I think just working on understanding what it is as a whole, but also learning the different smaller pieces that make it up are going to be helpful, especially because Epic is becoming more and more widely used within healthcare. So I think that's one of the biggest skills that I'll be able to take with me is my knowledge of not just IT and in healthcare, but specific systems as well.
Perfect. So to wrap up your experience at Salem Health, would you, how did you get this internship?
That's a great question. So I got this internship because I saw it posted on MBA Focus, which is our internal job site, and I reached out to my PCA. So here in this program we have peer career mentors, essentially.
Okay.
And I reached out to mine and said, hey, you know what? I'm interested in this position. Do we have any contacts at Salem Health? And he sent me the name of our primary contact. And so I was able to apply to her directly, which was really helpful. However, I also found out through our career office that I needed to apply on the website as well. And it was a little nerve-wracking because my interview was it was with me and 7 people, so it was my first experience with a group interview. But I guess I must have said something right, because the next day I did get a call from the former director of technology, and so he wanted me to come on and work on the contracts project. So yeah, I think that it's been a good experience, and I'm really glad that I was able to use the internal resources that we've been given.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's awesome that you've had a great experience, and it sounds like, would you recommend this opportunity if another internship came up for Salem Health? Would you recommend this to your peers, to others, to engage in this experience?
I would. My answer to that is actually more of a yes and no. Yes, I've had a wonderful experience, and yes, I've gotten to learn a lot and meet a lot of new people. I think that this particular internship in this specific department does take a very fluid personality. So there are a lot of things that Salem Health is working on, and there have been a lot of changes even in the short time that I've been there. And so I think that if an intern is looking for something that's a lot more structured and rigid, then it wouldn't necessarily be a good fit. You would want someone who is able to adapt to a changing environment. But I enjoy it. I mean, I think that's one of my favorite things is that it's always new. There's something always happening and there's something always changing. So I think in a lot of ways it has its bonuses.
That's good. That's wise words, especially choosing an internship that makes sense. It fits your personality and your work style. So that's excellent.
Definitely.
So looking ahead, what now? How's your current role at Salem Health? Did you receive a job or are you still looking around? So to explain it a little bit more. So moving away from the internship, what's next for Salem Health and even after graduation?
So I did receive a full-time position at Salem Health back in November.
Nice.
I'm what's known as a business intelligence analyst. So essentially business intelligence is a department in a hospital that helps them use data. And so essentially our job is to give data to the rest of the hospital so they can make strategic decisions. And as an analyst right now, I'm currently being trained to not only write reports, but also to be able to interpret them and give them to end users. So far, so good. I think that this is where I will continue after graduation. I do want to get at least a couple years of experience working in a healthcare environment before looking for new opportunities. But, I mean, the door is always open, so I think if opportunity were to come knocking on the door, I would definitely explore. However, for right now, I am very happy and very content with my role.
That's good. That's good. Well, we want to thank you for taking the time to communicate your internship experience and also congratulate you on receiving that position and graduating, because that's a huge accomplishment as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come chat with me. It's been good. Yes, thank you.